Hi out there, it's me, Breanna. Today you are listening to book 4 of Brianna's book Bananza. You can find us exclusively at youtube.com/Save the Game Media. If you want to show Save the Game Media some extra love and get early access to all of our content, you can find us at patreon.com/Save the Game Media. Um, Today you will notice that it's just me. Ethan is um, busy this month. He had to move and stuff, so um, he was too busy, but that's okay. We can have a nice little solo discussion. Obviously, because it's just me, it won't be as long of a video. Probably, maybe I can talk to myself for an hour. I don't know. I doubt it. You know what? And actually, while I'm looking at this, let me back my face right up because I was too close to myself. I can see myself right now, and I was too close to myself. I feel better now. So today we have a couple of special announcements. We will be discussing In A Holidaze by Christina Lauren. But before we get to that, let's just go over some housekeeping stuff. One, next month's book will be Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson. If I'm not pronouncing that right, I am so sorry. It might be Stephenson, but I doubt it. It's probably Stevenson. Anyways, so that's the next month's book. I do want to point out that there is a deluxe edition of the book that you can purchase that was just barely released like November 2022. It is supposed to have some extra content in there. I personally will not be purchasing it because it's like $40. And I actually already own a physical copy of this book. It's somewhere in my boxes of books in storage. So I will also be buying a digital edition of this, but yeah, I'm not gonna buy I was very close to buying it, but I decided not to. So, I did wanna shout that out since it literally just barely came out. 2 other things. One, I'm going to be, posting a little bit more on TikTok. It's not gonna be anything, like, super frequent, but I did do Brandon Sanderson's, um it's not a GoFundMe, Kickstarter last year, and I paid for the, like, extra expensive one basically, where it's like you get 12 subscription boxes, you get, his new books, and all of that. So I'll be unboxing those as I receive them. And I'm also going to be starting to post my fairy loot. I've done, I think, one unboxing on there, but I think I'm just going to start unboxing them moving forward. I'm hoping to get access to the adult fairy loot within the next few months as well, because I hadn't signed up for that one before. I just have the young adult box. So yeah, you can look forward to that. I will also be posting probably some stuff about my Japan travels and stuff. So yeah, um, you can check stuff out there if you want. The last thing that I wanted to chat about before we get into the spoiler-free review, is that I will from now on be doing. I just had a huge urge to sing that song. That's from Greatest Showman, but I'm not going to. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so I'm gonna start posting my document because I do the document anyways for myself. I am going to edit it a little bit before it goes public access, just because I have personal notes for like when I do these videos. So like those are going to be removed because they don't really mean anything. It's just like notes for me to remember like which page I highlighted that I wanted to talk about and stuff like that. So you'll get like chapter synopsis and characters for this one. Normally, I also do like location details as well, and anything else that I need to keep track of. My um, Year of the Reaper was a little bit more extensive than In A Holidaze. Obviously, romances are a little bit more straightforward generally. So obviously not going to be as detailed, but just know that the document is full spoiler. Like it has all of the information. Um, like so don't go on there unless you've already read the book. Like it's not going to be helpful for while you're reading it. If you are interested in me doing a document that's like more like progressive, so like I can do like the sheet only has spoilers for the first third, second third, last third of the book or something like that. I can do that. It's not that difficult to just like copy and paste the sheet over as I update it. Um, but just let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. Unless somebody expresses like specific interest in that, I'm not going to do it. Just because like this is more for me and it's just like something you guys can now have access to. So yeah, there's that. So let's go ahead and start with a brief spoiler-free review. I don't think it's going to be that long. I'm just going to do some general thoughts. So I rated this book believe a 7 out of 10. I usually go out of 10, obviously, for Goodreads. It's only out of a 5 star, so I usually depending on how much I like the book, I usually round up, so I'll probably do a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, but on, like, my actual like, I like doing it out of 10, so it'll be, like, a 7 out of 10 for me, which in my anime list world would be a good book. It was a good book. I really enjoyed it. It was exactly what I needed and wanted out of the book. It is essentially a um, Hallmark movie, like Christmas romance, super cheesy, meets like Groundhog Day. I don't know if you've seen that movie. There's a few other movies that kind of do that loop in time um, trope, but Groundhog Day is the one that comes to mind for me. Fantastic film, by the way. If you haven't seen that, definitely go watch that. It's so good. And I think that Groundhog Day definitely explores the ramifications of the trope a little bit more. But this is still good, fluffy. It was a good romance. Um, I love the feel of this book too. It's so smooth. Anyways, here's my copy. Um, I did take my tabs out. I don't know if you guys I watched last month's video, but I had tabbed it up, but I did still highlight it. So do have that. Anyways, that was random note, but this is what happens when I don't have a co-host to keep me on track. Actually, I'm probably never on track. That's okay. Um, let's see. I have gone through that. Okay, is there anything else that I wanted to say spoiler free? If you're looking for a simple book, I think I just barely got like in my last Fairy Loot box, I got like a book review notebook. I freaking adore it. By the way, it's so beautiful. Could not recommend Fairy Loot book box more. Anyways, so there's like one of the things that you can write on the page for your review for the book is like 5 words to describe the book or whatever. And of course, I did stuff like time loop, Christmas, romance, stuff like that. I can't remember. Cozy was one of them. And then the fifth word I did was simple because this book really is just like a simple, cozy read. You don't have to like, there are some things that are thought provoking, but you don't really have to dive into them if you don't want. That would just be more of like a self reflection thing. So, um, I just noticed I'm slouching a lot. I usually watch Ethan when I do this. Anyways, it's all good. Um, I think that's everything I'm going to say as far as spoiler free. So I'm going to now switch into full spoilers. Um, if you haven't finished the book or you don't want to be spoiled, you've been warned. Okay. So let me open my notes here. All right. This is beautiful. So we start out here with Maylin. This is chapter 1. Maylin confesses to Benny that Theo and her drunkenly made out and that he's a terrible kisser. I was so grossed out by this part where she was like, "Oh yeah, he was like licking my face." I was like, "Ugh, what?" Like, I don't know. Not only is he a terrible kisser, but he's like trying to consume your entire face. I don't know. Maybe I'm judging. Maybe I would. I don't know. I don't know. But that sounded real. It sounded like too much for me. Chapter 2, Malin tries to talk to Theo about what happened, but he says she's overreacting. Wow. When he was acting like that, that really pissed me off. I know that they kind of explained it, quote unquote, later. I'll talk about my feelings on that later, but that kind of really pissed me off. Anyways, Malin discovers Andrew saw them kissing. I would literally die if that happened to me. Lisa and Ricky reveal that the cabin is going to be sold. It's too much for them to upkeep. Um, let's see. I think I skipped over something here. Hold on. Nope, this is in chapter 2. Okay, so in chapter 2, on page 14, I think it's so funny that Theo is like, "I knew you'd make a big deal out of this," but doesn't even have the maturity to, like, deal with it, you know? So he's like, "I know you would make a big deal out of this," but she's just trying to be like, "Hey, that was, like, a mistake, right? Like, we're cool?" And he is the one that is making the freaking big deal out of it. Oh, this makes me so mad. I think part of why this bothers me is because, like, a lot of the times, like, guys I think this is very much, like, reflective of, like, when guys are like, "Oh, women are so emotional," and then they, like, punch a hole in the wall because their favorite sports team didn't win. Like, okay. Um, we're emotional. Anyways, so other thing. Holiday tradition. Oh, I wanted to talk about this. So, I thought it was so beautiful that this holiday tradition was started because Aaron's mom and brother unexpectedly passed from a car crash during their junior year of college. Um, I think it was really this is like this whole thing is like a really beautiful reflection of like what family like truly is, which is like those people that you've chosen to keep in your life that mean something to you. So I really loved that um that they were able to kind of come together and help Aaron out. It was really beautiful. Okay, let's see. Okay, so then chapter 3, Malin and family are driving to the airport to head home while trying to process the news about the cabin, and the car crash happens at the end of the chapter. While they're in the process of processing, there was one line that I underlined and highlighted because I loved it. Um, where Malin says, "I know, mom, but it's okay to be sad." And I would like to take this time to remind you, if you're listening to this, it is okay to be sad. It is. It is. I know it's crazy. It's crazy how that works. That's my little tip for you. It is okay to be sad. I know it's not fun to go through things that are sad, but it is okay to not be okay. Okay, let's go to next here. Okay, 20 this page here. I briefly wanted to talk about this just from my own experiences. So I'm going to read the quote and then we can discuss it. I just thought this was astute, I guess. Um so like they're talking in the car about the cabin and everything that happens, and her mom says whatever happens happens, and then the mom reaches for Malin's hand, and she said, or she like notes, it's like not saying out loud, but like she notes in like her own thoughts, I guess. "I feel like a traitor to dad if I take it, and a traitor to mom if I don't." That really spoke volumes to me because I have definitely felt that. It is not easy to be a child of divorce. Because like you never want to hurt your parents' feelings, right? And I know that you're like not responsible for your parents' feelings, but like at the same time, it's not something that you're not aware of, right? So I was always very conscious of that, where it's like if I go, because like sometimes it would be like my dad and me and my mom, and we'd need to go somewhere, and it would be like obviously they're driving separate because they're separate adults, and I would always like they'd be like, "Whose car do you want to go in?" And I hated that. It was such an awful decision because it's like, well, if I pick my mom, is my dad's feelings gonna get hurt? And if I pick if I pick my dad, is my mom's feelings, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I hated that decision. It was also something that happened, I feel like a lot with like my stepdad, when like he and my mom were together. Where they would be like, "Oh, we're taking separate cars somewhere," because we had one car that, like, couldn't really fit all of us comfortably. Like, we could, but, like, I think there were a lot of times that we would take separate cars, and Mel would be like, "Do you wanna come with me, or do you wanna go with your mom?" And again, I hate this decision. So, pro tip, don't ask. I mean, that's such a hard thing to say because some kids do have an opinion. Some kids are like, "No, I wanna go with mom." Um, don't ask me who I wanna ride with because I hate this decision. I never wanna hurt anybody's feelings. And yeah, just tell me where you want me. Anyways, that was like a little it, like, made me stop and think. Okay, we're gonna hit page 30 really quick. This page is in my book, sorry. Um, I really liked this quote. She says, "I want to be happy, and I'm petrified that the path I'm on now is going to leave me bored and alone." I resonated with this a lot. I'm kind of in a weird place in my life where things, of course, are progressing. I just got a promotion at work. I am probably moving in this next year. But I'm just in this really weird place where I know I need to work on my portfolio in order to get a job in the field that I want, but I don't know if I'm just anxious to work on my portfolio or what it is. So since I won't work on my portfolio, I can't move forward, but I also don't want to be where I am. So I kind of understand what she was saying and like the her whole like career dilemma really resonated with me. So I hope I get a happy ending like she does. I'm sure I will. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and hit chapter 4 now. Malin wakes up on the plane. It is somehow before the vacation, 12:20, and they're flying to Salt Lake, headed to the cabin in Park City. I cannot imagine this happening to me. I don't know what I would do. I think I'd have a lot of like the same thoughts as her. Like, did I just dream that whole weekend? Like is there a limit? Like, if I and that's the thing, if you figure out you're in a loop, is there a limit to how many times you can loop? Is there a limit to the power? Like, what are the parameters? Like, if I make it to the 27th and then I die, do I still loop? Or is it only within those 6 days? There's a lot of questions there. Um, so yeah, I think I would be having, like, a lot of this would be very scary, of course, and yeah, I don't know if I could deal with it. That's all I'm saying. So yeah. Um, okay, chapter 5. They make their way to the cabin and Malin is freaking out. She's trying to figure out what is happening. That would be my question. What is happening? Okay, chapter 6. Malin and family make it to the or sorry, at the actual cabin, Malin is freaking out. After explaining everything to Benny, he recommends she tell her dad what is happening. On her way down, she falls down the stairs. Time is reset again, and Malin is back on the plane, and that's chapter 7 as well. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where this next highlight is. Page 117, which is in chapter 13, it looks like. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure I'm on top so I don't have to go back. Okay, so time is reset again, and she goes back on the plane. Everything repeats, and Malin is finally able to tell Benny about the time loop. The plan, as of then, is to just survive the night. Um, I feel I don't know again, and I'm just trying to think like I don't know what I would do here. I think that having, like, a family friend like Benny, like, or he's basically family, right? Having family like Benny, having somebody you can trust like that is really good and crucial for something like this where, you know, he eventually, like, gives her a secret. So, like, "Hey, if I loop again, can I have a secret that, like, you would have never told me otherwise?" And I think that's a really that's really smart. And I also wonder, like, why it is that, like, when she goes to tell her dad, like, why it time resets. I don't know if it's just a coincidence. I don't know if it's, like, her intention causes her to trip and fall and die or whatever. Um, so, like, the universe is like, "You can't tell your dad." My guess, just based on the fluffiness of the book, is that the intention behind it um, is that, like, she needs to do the work on her own to be happy. Like, she can't go like, she can have, like, a confidant in Benny, but, like, she can't be asking her dad, like, "Hey, what's going on?" Because that's not her path to happiness, if that makes sense. Okay. So Malin finally makes it to December 21st, and we hear about the origin of her crush. And she's trying to figure out why the time jump is happening. She's doing a lot of thinking on this. Um, that's chapter 9. Chapter 10, everyone heads out to the yard for the tradition of making snow creatures. This dissolves into a snowball fight before Malin is crushed by a tree branch. Um, I was shocked by this because I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting, to be honest with you, I was expecting to get a little bit more time before we hit the loop again. But like when she reflects back on it and how she was like, "No, you guys, we can't do this. Like it's so important that we follow tradition." And she was like trying to shut down the quote unquote happiness. And that's when time reset. I think that that was like a really important piece for her to figure it out, where it's like, I'm trying to pursue tradition and habits rather than happiness. So I need to be focusing more on like what makes me happy, what makes the people around me happy, stuff like that. Okay, let's see. This next one is chapter 11. Malin wakes up back on the plane again and has like a full-blown breakdown. Um, Back at the cabin, she has some romantic moments on the porch with Andrew. I was like, anyways. Chapter 12, things repeat. Um, Generally, but Malin and Andrew are talking more in this loop. Malin realizes she prefers the laughter of her family than the tradition of the snow creatures and starts the snowball fight herself this time. I think that was a really good moment, a really powerful moment for Malin as a character to kind of reflect and think about it. And be like, yeah, I think I prefer the laughter to the tradition. I think that's always good. Okay, chapter 13. Malin and Andrew go tree shopping and discuss life. Malin confesses, which shocked her, me, everybody was shocked. Okay, so now I have some of the pages here highlighted. So we're going to go to page 117. I don't know why I'm saying this like you guys are like, maybe you are. Maybe you have your book open. I doubt it. But let's see. Did I write the wrong page down? Definitely possible. Okay, let's see. I did. I meant to write 116. With these new okay. Actually, I'm gonna back up a little bit. So they're like hanging out, looking at the trees. There's holiday music stuff playing. So holiday music plays overhead, and Andrew bops contentedly along beside me. With these new eyes, I wonder if he's been suffocating under the predictability of the holidays, if we all have. Again, going back to the reflecting of like tradition versus happiness. Um, and kind of just a realization that maybe the happiness is more worth it. And she's wondering if other people are having the same feelings that she is. One of the things that I remember that they used to say in school a lot is if you have a question, just ask it, because there's probably at least half the class that has the same question and they're just not going to say anything. Um, and I think that this falls along the same line where it's like if you're having some issues, perhaps say something, because people will either be willing to help you out or maybe they're having the same issue as you. Just thoughts. A little bit further down the page, his eyes sparkle and sensation zips up my spine. I swear, he's never looked at me like this, like he's seeing me for the first time. Of course, he says. I love that moment. And yeah, I just really enjoyed that moment where, like, just like she said, it's like he's seeing me for the first time, where he's suddenly having this realization, and we'll kind of chat about it a little bit more in a second. But I really, really enjoyed it so much. Let's see. So they're still talking. Um, And they were talking about, like, her reaction to her parents' divorce and stuff, and he says, "I've known you your whole life, May. How could I not?" He grins at me again. And here you are this year, impulsive and taking up space and flipping all expectations. You're all take charge and bossy. And I really enjoy this just because I think that it's good to take space for yourself and maybe not always meet expectations. Maybe you can do something different, change it up. And I like that he noticed that about her. It's very cute. I mean, I guess it's really hard to not notice when she like really had like a mental breakdown at the beginning of this loop. Anyways, um, this next part, still page 120. A rebellious streak races through me. It's more like I see my life stretching out ahead of me and figure, why not go for what I want? Jam and applesauce on your blintzes, he jokes. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Cocktails on the porch, snowball fights. The word rockets from me. You. His smile freezes and then slowly slips away. Me? An awkward laugh escapes. Well, you've got me. He grins and spreads his arm wide, gesturing around to the trees, the snow, the twinkling lights overhead. It's more than wanting your company at the tree farm, and I think you know it. My heart is racing. But we can pretend that's what I meant, so it doesn't get weird. Andrew stares at me, and I'm both proud and horrified to realize I've made him speechless. You mean, like, he raises his brow. His brows rise meaningfully. Adrenaline spikes my blood. Yeah, like that. What a confession. I love this. I love this. She's been holding these feelings for like 13 years, like half her life. She finally says something. I can't imagine how scary. And he like blushes and he's like doesn't know what to say. I just love this. And she like kind of takes control of the moment. She's like, don't even worry about it, and like drags him off to go look at trees and stuff. And quits her job. Hell yeah, girl. Hell yes. Hell yes, quit that job. I loved that. So fun. So that's chapter 13. Let's see. Chapter 14. There was one part. I don't know if I missed it and like didn't write down. Maybe I missed it. Let me look. Sorry. I'm going to be so fast. Yes. Okay. It's a little bit later. It's on 151. I didn't write it down. Breanna, but I found it, so it's okay. Okay, so that's chapter 13. I really love this confession scene. I really love that she's taking chances on herself. And I know it's partially that she just doesn't know when time is going to loop, so she's just acting, I don't want to say like wildly, but she's acting like a little bit more freely because she's not worried about expectations. So I'm really glad that she is, because it seems like this helps her be a little bit happier. Chapter 14. Malin has finally slowed down enough to start seeing things in the cabin for how they really are, like how rough things look and all that stuff, and not just through like the lens of nostalgia. Her and Andrew spend some quality time under the tree, which I really loved this, like that scene. I felt like that was a really magical scene. It made me want to go lie under a tree. And just hang out, I guess. Great quote here. Let's see. You always hold back. So this is Benny talking, page 129. I don't know why I'm giving you the pages. You always hold back so much. Maybe it's not about making the right choices exactly, but making the right choices because you're finally being you. Maybe that's what you needed. And I think that Benny's right. I think this is what she needed. Like, she needed to get out of her dead end job. She needed to get out of this loop where she just comes back to the cabin and does everything the same way. But I think that that's another loop that's kind of happening side by side to everything else. So I really enjoyed that. Benny, I really would love a Benny in my life. He seems like such a cool guy. Such a cool guy. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I kind of lost hope here, not like for the book, but for like the romance, just for a little bit. Page 139. When he's talking to her and he's like, well, I kind of thought that you were into Theo, and she's like, "I've never been into Theo. Sorry if what I said made things weird." And he said, "Well, I guess what I'm saying, had I known it was a," he stops and seems to chew on the word, or on the words. "I've always really admired you," he starts again. "You're one of the few people in my life I hope I'll be close to forever, and I don't want things to be weird after the tree farm." And at this point, I was like, "Oh, is he trying to, like, let her down politely? Like, hey, I'm not really interested in pursuing this." And I was like, "Oh, no." And I was devastated. Obviously, that's not what happens, but I was devastated. Um, and then at the end, 141, when they're, like, hanging out under the tree, he says, or like the whole thing. "I turn to look at him, and he's already looking at me, and I know, and with a knowing twinkle in his eyes, he lifts his fingers to his lip, or his finger to his lips, and whispers, 'No talking. I just want to be under the tree with you.'" And that's when I was like, okay, maybe it's not just like a like, "Oh, I just see you as a friend" thing. Maybe he's just nervous about what would happen, or maybe he's just not sure about his feelings, or I don't know. I was worried. But it's a good kind of worry. This is like the fun kind of stress. So yeah. Let's see where we are at. Chapter 15. Okay, chapter 15 is sled day for the family. Malin and Andrew share the sled with an intense first ride. And you can't tell me that that first ride was not intense. Um, he keeps mentioning like how he just thought that her and Theo were just eventually going to be a thing. He says, this is 150 and 151. "You've never been for me, Maisie. I never knew you were an option." And she says, "What do you mean?" And his fingers curl, brushing just under my jacket. His breath comes out warm against my neck, voice shaking. "It never occurred to me that you might be mine." Ah, I love this part because he was just trying to be so nice. So I think that this kind of shows that maybe he did have secret feelings, and he kind of reveals that he did later. But he was being super, I don't want to say nice, he was being thoughtful. Might be a good word. He was being thoughtful and allowing his brother, like, because he thought she liked his brother, and his brother liked her, and so he just kind of was stepping aside to let that happen, um, just in the same way that she was stepping aside to let him be happy with whoever, he might be happy with, um, so I think this is really beautiful, so I like them together because they are both very thoughtful people. Love this. Okay, that's chapter 14. 15, excuse me, 16. Tired from the sled day, the quote kid ups is what they call themselves. Play games in the basement. Malin and Andrew share a brief kiss under the mistletoe. That was just fine. I loved that. The sass in that was so good. Um, oh, I love this part. Okay, so end of this chapter 161 and 2. They're talking about Twilight. And he was just like hanging out with her while she was sleeping, I believe. Yep, she fell asleep and he was hanging out, and she was like, "Why didn't you just wake me up?" And he's like, "You were cute. You kept smiling in your sleep." And she says, "I thought you were reading." He shrugs and I laugh. "How Edward Cullen of you," of course in reference to Edward literally just watching Bella sleep, which is kind of weird. He frowns. "Who?" "Oh my god, Andrew, no, we cannot remain friends." "I'm just kidding. I know the guy from the Hunger Games." He bursts out laughing when my horror deepens. "You look so insulted. Is that your test to weed out the bad ones?" "Yes." Still laughing, he stands and waves me up. "It's a good thing I've always been an excellent student." Oh. I loved that little interaction. It was very clever, very fun, and I enjoyed it. Obviously, I'm enjoying a lot of this. Okay, so chapter, what is this, 16? Just let me check really quick. 17, sorry. 17. Oh my god. The twins, Malin and Andrew, decide to play sardines. Malin and Andrew finally get a solid kiss and more. Solid kiss plus. You know what I mean? It's like Disney Plus, but Kiss Plus. And they share a good time in the closet. Oh, this is part of the mistletoe moment. Sorry to jump around. Part of the mistletoe moment, I really love this line where he's like, "You don't actually have to kiss," and she's like, "Except I think we do. Let's not break the rule." She's like, "Some traditions can't be broken," and I would agree. I would absolutely agree, especially on this one. Let's see. Not gonna really chat about the spicy moments because they keep getting caught in spicy moments. That's what I'll say. How awkward. Oh man, I thought I like literally had to put the book down. We'll talk about it in a second when what's his name? Uh Miles finds them in the freaking closet in the pantry. I like literally wanted to crawl out of my skin. I was like, "Oh my god, that's so embarrassing." Anyways, but they keep getting caught. Like all 3 times they were in a closet / behind a curtain. Silly. Okay, chapter 18 starts as a nice cozy chapter in which Malin and Andrew clean and do the dishes together, turns into another spicy closet chapter. But this time, Miles may have caught them. So awkward is what my note is. And he did. It's revealed later. He's like, "Yep, what was going on?" And I was like, "Oh my god, please no." Um Let's see, I have another quote here that I like. Page 186. I love this so much because I think that this kind of shows that the time loop thing is doing its job. A second thought sinks into me like a weight dropping in a warm lake. I am happy. I have never been this happy in my entire life. Maybe Benny was right, and I'm finally being me. I would just die to have that moment where I'm like, I am happy and I'm writing and doing everything that I want. I would love to have that moment. I would love to have that moment so much. So I'll keep you updated. I'll be like, "You guys remember when I said that I would love to have this moment?" Well, it just happened this week. I'll keep you guys updated. But what a magical moment. Let's see. Okay, so now we're just going to kind of blast through a couple chapters here. Chapter 19, Malin and Andrew head out to the boathouse for some cozy alone time. That's all I'll say about that. Chapter 20, Malin and Andrew get another quick moment behind the curtains before Benny finds them. Malin then goes out to chat with Miles about things, and Miles admits he thinks Theo is in love with Malin. And I kind of had a weird feeling about this. I was like, ew. I'll talk about that again. I've already mentioned this. I'll talk about it a little bit later. Malin has now made it to scavenger hunt day. She ends up partnered with Theo. Theo finds out that her and Andrew are together. At the end of the chapter, a wild car crash happens. Ooh, let's see. What page is this? Yep, this is exactly okay. So in this chapter, when he finds out, first of all, what a hoe. You know what I mean? I was not happy with him. Okay. I'm just gonna read some lines and then we'll discuss this. This is Theo, page 225. He says, "We were tight, May." He says, "You and me, we were always closer than you and Andrew. When we were kids, yeah." I agree carefully. Another car passes and another close behind it, honking loudly at some pedestrians who unexpectedly step into the street. But as friends, Theo, we were only friends. Or sorry, but as friends. Theo, we were only friends. Have you always liked him that way? I nod. How long? Forever, I want to say. A long time. I can tell this surprises him, and color makes its way down his neck. Did he know? Before this week, I ask. No. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't tell anyone. Except Benny, he guesses. Benny knows everything. Ugh, okay, sorry, this really grosses me out. He laughs again. I don't know how to say this, so I guess I'll come out with it. I feel like you led me on. Okay. You know what? We're going to keep going here for just that brief second. So, chapter 22, Malin is almost hit by various debris several times and has a breakdown revealing and then she reveals that she is looping to everybody. She goes to the coffee shop to calm down before Benny comes to retrieve her. Well, that's the last chapter I'll cover for now. Let's see, page 230. When he literally outs them and is like, Theo says, May and Andrew are hooking up after he's like, are you gonna tell them? Ew, dude, first of all, it's not your secret to tell. It's not your business. Okay, I'm gonna go off on a rant for a second. This is what I was kind of trying to wrap up here for Theo. First of all, you had your chance in a different time loop and you treated her like booty. I know that she gives her excuses for him later. I don't agree with those excuses. It really, really bugged me that she was like, well, I just knew he was always like this. Just because he's always like that doesn't mean it makes it okay. It was not okay with me, at least. Um, so I was really bothered by this just because he was going around and sleeping with a bunch of girls, right? They were like, "Oh, he never stays with a girl for too long, la la la." He's like jumping around from woman to woman, sleeping with a bunch of them, hiding them in his closet, like just getting with all these people, which whatever, if you want to do that, do that. That's totally fine. I really don't care. That's your life. I really don't care. However, when you become like when you think you're just entitled to Malin, like she's just always going to be there for you and she's in love with you and you in love with her, but you're just going to go around and sleep with all these people and then she'll just be the prize at the end. Like, is that what you were expecting to happen? And I think that that's what made me feel so like icky about this is like it really felt like he was just like, oh, Malin will just always be there for me and she'll just be mine. Like, ew, ew. Women are not objects. We're not prizes to be won. Ew. That was literally my notes. Ew. I was really, really bothered by this. And even when she was like, I knew this was his personality, I should have just given him time to process. It doesn't matter. Like, he should have been like, hey, I feel weird about this. Can you give me some space to process? Don't make excuses for gross dudes. And I'm really glad that they're friends at the end of this, obviously, because this is going to be her brother in law. But like, he has a lot of growing up to do. That's what I'll say. And it's like, yes, he's a family friend. Yes, he's her friend. Yes, they've been close. I understand that, like, when you're close to somebody, you'll tolerate a lot more and you'll be a lot more understanding. I'm the same way. However, I just want to point these things out because I just don't think that you should ever expect somebody to just be waiting around for you. And if you do think that, I'm sure nobody that's listening to this does, but if you do, get over yourself. That's what I'll say. Because if he really had feelings for her, he should have just said something. He didn't need to be like, oh, they're together. I can't believe that he just said that to the whole family. That's not even his business. Like, it's not his secret to tell. That really bothered me. Anyways, so now I'm just going to keep going. Chapter 23, Malin admits everything to Andrew. Capitalize everything to Andrew. He asks for some space to process. This is like one of my final notes, but I did say, I was like, listen, I really don't condone lying. Like, I really don't. However, in a case like this, I really think you could have just lied. You don't need to say it because it literally didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Like it literally did like it did happen, but like it didn't happen. And I understand like she was kind of in the heat of the moment and I understand her reasoning later where she's like, "Well, I just wanted you to know everything so we could move forward without it being weird." But like literally you made it weird, girl. You made it weird. He did not need to know that because literally the Theo in this reality doesn't remember that happening. You are the only one that remembers that happening besides maybe you told Benny at the beginning of the time loop. Nobody needed to know. And it's not something like I feel like that's not a secret that like it's like, "Oh, well, I just don't wanna feel bad. I don't wanna have this secret over me." Like, it literally I don't know, maybe I would feel different if I was in this situation, but it literally didn't happen in this reality. So, like, it's not like you, like, cheated on him or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just, like maybe I'm in the wrong here, and I would say something because she's right. It is just better to have all of everything just, like, out and, like, "Hey, like, I'm just being honest with you." Sure, maybe I'm in the wrong, but I feel like this is one of the times that you could probably lie. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll stop. Chapter 24, my note is a very, very awkward Christmas Eve. That's all I'll say on that. Sorry, I'm just kind of. I love this, by the way, where she says, "You look like you want to crawl out of your own skin." I feel like that sometimes, a lot of the time, where I'm like, "Let me out of my skin." Feel claustrophobic. So I felt that. That was just a random note. Okay, chapter 25. Malin realizes she's going to have to do work to fix things. I love this. She's not a damsel of distress and she's got to work on things on her own. She goes to chat with Benny about buying the cabin and has a quick chat with Theo to clear things up. Chapter 26. Malin goes out to the boathouse and has a chat with Andrew, except he mostly just listens. Um, she then goes on a long walk, only to return to the family, urging her to go upstairs. She finds Andrew in the closet again, and they are now official. The epilogue. Malin and Andrew return to the house for the 4th of July. Andrew proposes and surprises Malin with most of her family there. So that's the last little bit of the book. I really enjoyed the conclusion to this. I'm really glad that it didn't reset because like it's the further we got in the book. I was like, bro, if this resets, like I don't know how she's gonna be able to do all this again. Because like a lot of the stuff that she was doing was like a moment of courage. So I don't know if she would have been able to recreate those moments. And so I was getting a little worried for her. So I'm really glad that this last time didn't reset and we kind of made it through. Um Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to say about this book. Um, I hope everybody enjoyed it. Oh, I thought of it. I was reading the acknowledgments at the back, which it's not something I normally do, but I've been doing recently. But in the acknowledgments, it's signed with massive affection, Christina and Lauren. So the author, Christina Lauren, is actually two people, Christina and Lauren, which I thought was so cool. Anyways, I just thought that was like a really cool note. Two friends writing together. Um, I'm really curious what their writing method is because I feel like I'm too much of a control freak at this point in time to allow people to try and write a book with me. I don't know because I have partner programmed before, which I know is different, but it still feels like a little bit like like you have ownership over the code, and I was fine with that. So maybe I would be fine. I don't know. Anyways, random note there. I really enjoyed the ending of this book. Like I said, I thought it was a really happy ending. I'm really glad that she was able to clear things up with Theo so that way this awkwardness wasn't kind of hanging over everything. It sounds like buying the house was really what Benny needed for his life as well. And I'm really glad that the house is getting the treatment it deserves and that everybody still has a place to go for Christmas. I was thinking, like, I wonder what happens when all of the kids start having kids. At what point is there too many people coming to the cabin? Um, and we of course don't know. But yeah, that was just like my random thought on that. Anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed this. I am just looking at my notes to see if there's anything else I need to talk about. Again, you can find my notes in the description. You can find a link to the Discord in the description. You can find my TikTok at Fabulous Breanna. You can find me most places at Fabulous Breanna. And just for fun, that's FabulistBreanna. So you can find me there if you'd like. And then thank you so much to our patrons. I really appreciate you guys. So special shout out, Bucky Blue, Hoppo, Alpaca Tom, Amon, Fabulous Breanna. I wonder who that is. Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Anna Hudock, Nicola at Night, Cypher Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mamie J, The Snack Network, Dave Hotright. If you want to chat about this book, please feel free to leave some notes in the Discord. You can also you can tweet at me, but it'll probably take me a week or two to get to it because I don't check very often. So yeah. Oh, you can also leave comments on this video if you'd like. We've got some really exciting stuff coming for Book Bonanza. There is going to be something really exciting with this next episode. I haven't said what it is, and I'm not going to say just in case it ends up being 2 months instead of just 1 month. But I'm hoping we'll have some good stuff this next recording. So, thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful 2023. Take care.